Hello, my name's Ed Poole and I'm a Green Party activist. I'm interviewing Green Party candidates for the local elections, and today I'm talking to Charli Thompson, who is standing in Woodhouse ward in Barnet. Hi, Charli.
Hello, Ed. Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a bit about yourself and why you're running?
Primarily, I would say I'm a community organizer. I've been politically active for years now, particularly focused on disability rights, social care, housing, anti-austerity. I've been very active locally for a long time, and it got to the point where I just thought I need to get in that council chamber because I've witnessed some awful things in there, and yeah, I feel like it's ordinary people like me that need to be representing residents rather than kind of career politicians, as I would call them.
What made you join the Green Party?
I was a Labour member for quite a few years, and I left the party because of the absolutely disastrous government that we've got right now a few years ago. And then I went back to kind of community organising and focusing on that. And Keir Starmer was just doing such an awful job, and it was such a mess, and particularly around what's happening in Palestine. I just felt I have to get back involved with party politics. And I've always, respected the Greens. I think the Greens have good policy, but like many people, I'm sure, I just wasn't sure that Greens could win. Um, but then I thought, no, you know what? I'm going to get involved, and things were beginning to happen locally in my local party, and I wanted to get involved. So I kind of joined the party just before the kind of big new surge. I was ahead of the game on that.
When did you join?
I joined in July 2024.
Yes, about the same as me. I joined just after the general election.
Yeah.
Um, I think mine was exactly July as well because I campaigned in the for independence in the general election in London, and then joined the Green Party after that.
Yeah. And the Green Party vision is a vision that I share. And you know, the focus on well-being above GDP, the intersectionality of the climate crisis and economic and racial inequality. Yeah, it all fit for me. So yeah.
Why do you think people should vote for the Green Party?
Many reasons. I think one of the main reasons is that we genuinely are a grassroots-led party. We're ordinary people, you know, none of us are professionals really, um, in politics, as it were. So we just are here because we care. We listen, we work really hard. We're very democratic as a party, and that is really important to me. I had some terrible experiences in the Labour Party with a lack of democracy, a supposed, member-led party being dictated to from above, was just awful. So that has been one of the best things about joining the Greens is being able to really get involved with policy making and yeah, decision making on a local level. So I think it's really important that we have an alternative to the status quo, and the kind of mainstream parties have just not delivered. And I think the Greens offer a vision, and we have a solid plan to deliver that vision.
In recent years, we've seen the rise of the far right with reform leading in the polls, people climbing up lampposts to put up flags, and attacks on immigrants and trans people, and racist riots in the street. How do you think we combat the rise of the far right?
It's terrifying, and actually, in the ward that I'm standing in, we had a threat from the far right in August 2024, when we had the kind of attacks on hotels and stuff, which was just awful. And the community came together, and I think that is a massive part of the solution is connecting communities and not allowing this division and pointing at each other. I think there's a genuine sense of frustration and anger, and that is felt across the political spectrum. It's about the solutions, really. I mean, I've had conversations with people where we've kind of agreed, we've gone like this in the conversation. We've fully agreed on a lot of the problems, but then you get to the solution, and that's where the split happens. And I think a lot of that is to do with, misinformation that's being spread around, a lack of political education. I think that's really important, and yeah, just propaganda from the far right. And I think the only way to defeat the far right is to connect with other people, and not allow that division to seed itself.
Okay.
Yeah, and the pitting of communities against each other. There's been a lot of really awful attacks on trans people, for example. As a member of the LGBTQIA plus community myself, I speak with friends and they're just terrified. And the idea that trans people are the problem in our society is just it's ridiculous, really. Trans people have the same struggles we all have. We all share the same struggles of inequality and a lack of access to healthcare, and a lack of access to housing, a lack of access to work. Yeah, so really, I think that it is about bringing all communities together, in struggle.
How well do you think the Green Party can do?
I think we can do really well. If we look at, the iconic Hannah Spencer, big up Hannah Spencer, in Gorton and Denton. I mean, that was, all the rhetoric was there. You know, the Greens, there's no chance of the Greens winning. If you vote for the Greens, then Reform are going to get in. All of that classic trope. And we absolutely smashed it by a big majority. And we're winning by-elections all the time at the moment. On my social media feed, I'm seeing green win, green win. And it's just so exciting. So I think we absolutely have a really good chance that we're doing really well in the polls. I'm getting a sense, when I'm talking to people, that people are taking the Greens seriously, and they really appreciate our message of hope. And yeah, I think we can do really well, and I'm having a positive attitude about it.
What do you think are the limits of electoral politics?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Like I said before, my roots really are in community organizing and working together in solidarity with my community to fight against the status quo and push for socialist values, push for justice and equality, and to really put people who have been historically sidelined in the center of the conversation. I think that's what we need to prioritize. And I think electoral politics is not the end goal. I think there's a bit of a misconception that, getting elected is the win. Actually, the win is what we do once we're elected. And for me, that's about being a representative, for a community. And I think that is the most important thing. So for me, electoral politics is part of a much, much bigger picture, alongside union organising, community groups, mutual aid, all of those things is part of a big puzzle that fits together.
You're an organizer for Roadmap for Independent Living Coalition. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, it's great. It's one of the best things that I've ever done, actually, working with this group. It's a coalition of lots of different groups and individuals with lived experience of social care. So there's disabled people, older people, unpaid carers, academics, professionals, all working together to essentially create a roadmap towards transformation in social care. We know social care is broken. As social care to me is about, the baseline, how we treat one another in society. It's not this kind of fringe thing that only affects certain people. There's that famous saying that, you can measure a society's success by how it treats its most marginalised. And to me, people who draw on social care often are extremely marginalised, and there are many barriers for disabled people and older people. So yeah, this coalition is about bringing together lots of different groups. We've got groups like the Greater Manchester Coalition of Disabled People, Brill in Bristol, who are a disabled people's organisation, the Campaign for Real Care, of which I'm a member, and we're another disabled people's organisation with a mix of people involved. And we're bringing together all of the work that we've done separately into this cohesive roadmap. And we have short, medium, and long-term goals, and we have milestones within each of those. And it's about centering the voices of people impacted by social care. It's about social care as part of society. It's about justice, and it's about independent living for all.
I recently went canvassing in Barnet, and there's quite a large Jewish community in Barnet. We had several Jewish and non-Jewish voters on the doorstep raising concerns about anti-Semitism in the Green Party.
Mm.
How do you respond to that when you speak to people?
Yeah, we have a very large and vibrant Jewish population in Barnet, and it's fantastic. We've got some very active Jewish members in Barnet, and yeah, it's really concerning. It's concerning that there is a legitimate rise in anti-Semitism that's happening, and I think it's really important that we acknowledge that. And it's important that we are determined in our efforts to tackle it. I think a lot of the issue with anti-Semitism at the moment is because there is this terrible conflation between Zionism, support of Israel, and anti-Semitism. And I think that is extremely dangerous, to suggest that Jews are automatically associated with Israel's behavior. And Israel is perpetuating that constantly, and supporters of Israel are doing the same. And I think that's extremely dangerous for Jewish people, for the wider community. And yeah, I absolutely think we have to fight against that, and not be scared to say that that is what is happening. And we have to look out for one another and really acknowledge that anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, anti-Black racism, these are all different sides of the same coin. And um, we've got to do better at connecting the dots and coming together and fighting all forms of racism.
We've seen local council funding cut disastrously over the last 15 years by the Conservatives, and the Labour Party don't seem to be doing anything to address that. How do you
No.
think how do you think local councillors can fight back against austerity?
Well, actually, the timing of this is pretty perfect because I'm involved with a group called Greens Organise, and we are launching today a pledge for councillors and candidates to essentially stand up to austerity and a lack of transparency in local authorities. So I'm really, really pleased to be signing that pledge. And yeah, I mean, austerity has hollowed out our communities. There's no doubt about that, and you can see it everywhere you go. And I think you know that there's a huge amount of responsibility that lies with central government, but there's also responsibility that lies at a local level. There's a huge power imbalance between professional, like senior officers within the council and councillors, and residents' voices are not being heard. Unmet need is, hidden away. A lot of money is spent on kind of slick PR campaigns and these kind of consultations that really are performative. We need to really understand the needs of communities, and we need to make sure that residents' voices are at the centre of that. And we need our budgets to be set based on real need in communities. And we need a government that responds to that by funding those things. So yeah, I'm fully behind this campaign from Greens Organise, and I would encourage anybody else to have a look at it and sign it.
What other issues do you think are important?
The one that comes to my mind immediately is Palestine, the genocide that's going on, and this absolute lack of accountability at a government level for what the Starmer government is doing and how we are complicit, and the way that ordinary people who are fighting against this war and genocide, how they're being treated. The proscription of Palestine action, a stamping down on our right to protest, which is a part of any healthy democracy. And it's really terrifying. And yeah, I don't know how many more days any of us can bear seeing what we're seeing. And now this illegal war in Iran. And yeah, it's just really terrifying. And I think, interestingly, people talk about, oh, this doesn't impact this isn't a local issue. It is very much a local issue. And actually, I've had a few people on the doors ask about, you know, what are we saying about what's happening in Palestine? And we have families who are directly impacted by this war. So yeah, that's a very important issue for me. And again, there's other pledges. There's a pledge to fully support the BDS movement. I think that's a massively important thing that anybody can do at a local level, a national level. And yeah, in terms of other issues, for me, social care is a huge issue. Disabled people are, so many decisions are made about our lives without our input. And so I will always fight for disabled people to be at the centre of conversations and not kind of an afterthought. I find it a struggle in a lot of the work that I do to make sure that the voices of disabled people are represented and that any kind of organising that we do, that we are inclusive and accessible. So yeah, that's a really important issue for me. And I support residents locally with trying to get access to social care, and also special educational needs support for children. Um, housing, housing is a huge one. Very involved in a local campaign in Finchley. We've got these kind of big developments being proposed. Everything is so developer led at the moment. Labour are only interested in ticking their kind of arbitrary targets. And actually, we've got a housing crisis for people who can't afford these rents. The landlords are hiking rents up with no accountability. Hopefully, the rent cap will help. But yeah, so housing is a huge issue, and this kind of ad hoc building without talking to communities about the kinds of housing that we need. And, the decimation of nature in the process, the decimation of community spaces, the decimation of our public services generally. We've got a crisis locally with our mental health provision. We've had mental health social workers on strike in Barnet for a lack of a safe service and a lack of fair pay and conditions. And that is all, these are all symptoms of this broader austerity and lack of vision and lack of prioritizing people's well-being.
You're part of the Our North Finchley campaign challenging large housing developments. Can you tell
Mm.
us a bit about that?
Yeah, so like I said, we've got a few well, three or four major developments being proposed in North Finchley. One of them we're right in the middle of kind of fighting. We've got a place called the Great North Leisure Park, which is a kind of entertainment hub in the area. People travel from across London to this place. We have a bowling alley, a cinema, loads of restaurants. A lot of kids use it every day. It's the kind of place parents are happy for kids to go and hang out there. It's there's a lot of activity. It's really busy. And this developer has come in and said, we're going to knock it all down and build this massive, dense tower block development full of unaffordable flats. When in Barnet we've got a crisis, we've got families, thousands of families on the waiting list for social homes, and yeah, like this idea that you can just decimate communities without properly consulting and yeah, just in order to kind of tick boxes. We're feeling it across London, across the country. But in Finchley, yeah, it's a community-led thing. I'm really involved in it. It's a non-partisan community campaign, and we're doing really well. We've had a petition recently, and we got to over 10,000 signatures on this petition. The decision is now the council rejected the proposal off the back of our brilliant campaign. And now the decision is sitting with Sadiq Khan. So we're waiting to hear what he decides. But we are going to keep fighting.
What do you love about Barnet?
Well, I grew up here, born and bred, Barnet girl. And yeah, I think the thing I love about Barnet the most is that it's this kind of it's kind of half in the countryside and half in the city. So you get this real good mix. It's really easy to get into London, but also it's really easy to kind of go the other way and get away from the smog. So yeah, we're really lucky. It's a really diverse borough, and yeah, that's really great. We've got some really strong community activity going on. I spoke about our North Finchley campaign. We've got a really strong trade union community in Barnet. Many members of Unison and United Voices of the World and Unite. Um, yeah, lots of great people doing great stuff. So yeah, that's what I love about it.
What's your vision for Barnet?
For better cohesion, for less inequality. It's a massively unequal borough. We've got some of the most wealthy people in the country living in Barnet. Huge mansions and yeah, and then we've got some of the poorest people living alongside the rich people. So for me, the biggest success would be to reduce that level of inequality, to get the most marginalised voices a seat at the table. Our council is not diverse enough. It's not representative. We have been historically quite a kind of status quo right wing council. And yeah, we need some change. We need to change it up.
How can people get involved in your campaign?
Yeah, so the best way to get involved locally is to come along and help with door knocking and leafleting. We've also got a really brilliant social media team that is building. So if you want to get involved with that as well, we really need people. We need people. We don't have these kind of rich, wealthy backers like Reform that can kind of chuck out all these leaflets constantly. We have people power, and so we really need people to come out and support the campaign and get involved. And it is really, really exciting and it's really fun. And we've got a great little community in Barnet that's growing. So yeah, come along and join us.
And I noticed on your Instagram you've got quite a lot of artwork. Have you got any tips for drawing hands?
Yeah, I am a creative person and art bit of an artist. Yeah, my dad actually taught me to draw hands. Funny you ask about hands. My dad sadly passed away about a month ago. And I've been looking through a lot of his old like artwork and stuff, but he taught me that. And I would say my top tip is just to keep doing it, to just practice. There isn't, this kind of genius gene that people have. It's about practicing and observing, you know, shapes and light and shade. But yeah, just keep practicing, keep doing loads of rubbish hands, and eventually you'll do great hands.
Charlie, thanks very much.
Thank you. Free Palestine.